Hi! As you guys know, I recently went to Japan, and whenever a nerd goes to Japan, they buy things. So it'll come as no surprise that today we're doing my Japan haul. I got a load of really cool stuff in Japan. I got some memorabilia, video games, some figures, and of course, some manga. I'm going to leave timestamps down in the description to all of the different categories, and you can flick through and watch whatever takes your fancy. But we all know what a haul is, so let's get straight into it. First up, I'm going to go through the memorabilia, the souvenirs that I got from Japan. On one of the days, we actually ended up going to Universal Studios, and of course we had to check out Super Nintendo World, so I made sure to buy something to remind me of that. I bought this little Yoshi. This was one of the more overpriced things I bought on the entire holiday, because a running theme here is that Japan is really good value for money. But yeah, little plushie Yoshi. One of the landmarks we visited was the Tokyo Sky Tree, and at the top of that sky tree you could get a little gacha, which was a coloured ribbon that you could write a message on, and you also got a little pin badge. So I got this little blue Tokyo Sky Tree pin badge. Keeping in the vein of landmarks, we visited a lot of shrines and temples in Japan, and I was sure to pick up a few amulets and other bits and pieces to remember where we'd been. The first thing I got was this little wooden plaque, and you could actually write kind of a wish or a prayer on these and leave them at the shrine. And I got this from a shrine in Shinjuku, very close to where we were staying. So this was kind of the first thing we saw in Japan when we went out on that first day. I'm hoping at some point to actually write a little prayer on the back, but I will always keep this in my bedroom. In Japan, when you go to shrines or temples, you can buy little amulets, and I actually picked up two particular amulets. I got this one here and this little one with the kind of fox deity on it. Now, this particular amulet came from the shrine with the 1,000 gates. I'll leave a name of it somewhere on the screen because I can't recall it right now. So I thought this was really cool, and it is a super cute little amulet. Now, the last of the things that isn't nerd related is just a packet of chopsticks. I had to get a pack of chopsticks from Japan. I haven't opened these yet, but they have like designs of the Great Wave and kind of Mount Fuji and stuff like that, and I thought they were really cool. I literally picked this up from Don Quixote, so they're nothing special, but I had to get some. Now we can go on to the nerdy stuff. First off, I did buy one singular packet of trading cards. I saw this Nier Automata trading card series, and I just had to get a packet of it to go on the shelf. If you didn't know already, I am a massive fan of the Nier series, and this was just something that I had to buy because it's cool. I've never seen it before. You can't get it in the UK, so I was just like, I'm gonna do it. Speaking of Nier, there is actually a version of the original Nier that was released exclusively in Japan, and it's the version that was remade last year or the year before on the PlayStation 4, and that is Nier Replicant. Now, this is one that I found inside of a book off, I believe. It cost 2,300 yen, so it definitely wasn't the cheapest thing I found. I had to pick this up. It's just a really cool piece for the Nier collection. Next up was a much cheaper game, and that's the original Dark Souls. Obviously, I already own this, but I really love the Japanese cover for Dark Souls, and this was 480 yen, which is about £3, so really, it would be rude not to. Now we're going to talk about another game series that I absolutely adore, which is Persona. I managed to pick up a couple of Persona games in Japan. I was planning to get everything, but I wanted to find stuff in the wild, and I really had a thrill out of searching through the shelves and trying to find things. I ended up with 3 Persona games, which isn't exactly all of them, but I'm really happy with the ones I picked up. So I got Persona 5 Dancing Star Night. Now, this is a Persona dancing game. I have the Persona 4 dancing game, but I don't believe they ever released this one on the PS Vita in English, so this was a really cool pickup. Next up, I got an absolute classic Persona game, Persona 2 Innocent Sin. This is on the PlayStation 1, and it came with these really cool J cards. I just thought it was a really awesome package to pick up. It's not something I'm going to be able to play because it's all in Japanese, but again, it's just a really cool action piece for the collection. And now we're coming to my favorite of the Persona pickups, which is the Persona 4 Dancing All Night Collector's Edition. Now, this comes comes with the game, but also with a soundtrack, and it comes in this absolutely awesome shiny box. I own this in English. It's a really fun game that I absolutely fell in love with. To be able to find this collector's edition was just awesome, and I ended up picking this up for 2,280 yen, which is the equivalent of about £13. So not only was it a cool find, but it was an absolute steal as well. As you all probably know on this channel by now, even though I still haven't done the dedicated video on it, I absolutely love Berserk. It's my favorite series of all time, and there are some Berserk video games, and it was my target to pick up all 3 of them while I was in Japan, and I got so close. I unfortunately couldn't find the PS2 Berserk game, which is the one I wanted the most because the PS2 is my favorite console of all time, but I did pick up the PlayStation 4 game, which I believe is called Band of the Hawk, and this is kind of a Dynasty Warriors-esque action game. I've played it a little bit and it is really fun. And then I picked up this one. I think this is called Sword of Berserk Guts' Rage, and this is on the Sega Dreamcast. I managed to find this in a retro game store, so I did pay a little bit of a premium on it, but I'm really happy that I got to pick this one up. It looks really cool, and you can actually get this in English, so I might end up doing that in the future, but the artwork on the front of this is so wicked, and I can't wait to put it on the Berserk shelf. Oh yeah, there's a Berserk shelf now. One of the things that I found really interesting in Japan were all of the different little figures that you could buy. There are gacha machines absolutely all over the main cities, and you can play them and get these little figures or any kind of gacha prize. I was looking through loads of them, but nothing really took my fancy apart from one particular gacha machine which gave a Jack Frost Persona figurine. So this little guy cost me 400 yen, and once again, it's just going to look really good on the Persona shelf. Oh yeah, there's a Persona shelf now. Alongside gacha machines, you could also buy little figurines from Family Mart and 7-Eleven. In this particular case, I think I got both of these from Family Mart, but they're little Chainsaw Man figurines. They come in these little boxes. They cost, I think, about £5 each, and the thing that I found was they're not blind boxes. I bought this Denji one hoping to get the Chainsaw Man, and that's exactly what I got. You can also get characters like Denji, Aki, Power, Makima, but bearing in mind I got Chainsaw Man in an action pose, I had to also pick up Katana Man to make a sort of little diorama. And yeah, these were pretty cool. Throughout my holiday in Japan, I was constantly searching for some particular figures to add to my collection. Now, I'd spoke about the value for money on a lot of this stuff that I found in Japan, but the one thing that was just too expensive for me were the figurines. In particular, I was looking for a Berserk figure, and in Akihabara there were shops that sold them, but they were so expensive. I'm talking 150 to 250 pounds just for one figure. And I know that's kind of the going rate, but for me on holiday, it just wasn't what I was looking for. So unfortunately, I didn't manage to pick up any amazing figures whilst I was on holiday in Japan, but I did pick up a few smaller, cheaper things. The first of which is this Chainsaw Man crane game. It's got Denji hugging Pochita, and it is absolutely adorable. I think this cost me 2,000 yen, so about £12, and I thought that was a pretty good deal. I also wanted to get myself a Nendoroid. I was really hoping to pick up the Emil Nendoroid from Nier, but that was like £120, so instead I settled for this Persona 5 Joker, which is more £45. I have never bought a Nendoroid before, so I wanted to add one to my collection, and it was either going to be Joker, Emil, or the Guts one, but the Guts one wasn't even out when I was in Japan, so this is the one I went for in the end. I'm pretty happy with it, and it will look good on the Persona shelf. It's just now I'm also going to have to get some more. I said I didn't get any figures whilst I was on holiday in Japan, and I worded that very specifically. I'd completely given up on the idea of getting a Berserk figure in Japan until I got to the airport. In the airport, in the kind of duty-free zone, there were a few cool shops, one of which sold anime and manga merch. And while I was searching through, I found this absolutely awesome SH Figuarts Chainsaw Man figure. And this cost me 6,500 yen, which is about the equivalent of £35. Again, that seemed like a pretty good deal, especially when over in the UK you're looking at around £80 for this one. So I picked it up. And in that same area, there was a few different figures, and I had a look through all of them, didn't find anything in particular until I moved one out of the way, and right at the back, as if by fate itself, on the exact last possible moment that I could have got a Berserk figure in Japan, I did it. This is the SH Figuarts Guts in the Berserker armor figure, and I was so excited to find this. There was no doubt in my mind I was buying it. It was 9,500 yen, which is almost £60, but it was basically fate. There was one of them. I was on the very last day. I was in the airport. It had to be done, and I'm absolutely ecstatic that I got this. I'm pretty sure I have it on pre-order for when it releases in the UK, so we'll see what happens when that comes out, but I was so gassed to get this, and I am going to be doing a video in the next couple of weeks opening up this figure, the Chainsaw Man Figuarts, and also the Persona 5 Nendoroid. And that's everything, guys. That's completely all I bought in Japan, because, you know, I don't collect manga. Of course I bought some manga. Come on now. Manga hunting was one of the coolest things that I did in Japan. It was absolutely amazing going to all these different stores and seeing what they had, and even more amazing searching the stores for specific volumes that I wanted. I tried my best not to ask for help because I wanted to find these things in the wild. I wanted them to be memories of my experience, and the vast majority of them are bought from Book Off, where I was getting manga for 100, 200 yen, which is like 60p. It's absolutely crazy, and I wish I could have bought more, and I wish I read Japanese because I would just be able to own so many cool series. But I'm going to go through the ones I picked up. I focused mainly on buying stuff I'd never seen before, couldn't get in English, or just first volumes or my favorite volumes of my favorite series. So let's have a look. In the vein of things I've never seen before, I picked up this volume 5 of Slam Dunk. This one cost me 300 yen, which is again about £2, and it has the character of the Slam Dunk movie, which me and my brother actually went and watched in the cinema, so I thought this would be a really cool thing to own in my collection. It's an awesome cover. It's a really, really nice edition. I believe it also has some color pages. It does, and it's in this larger format than the Slam Dunk volumes that I own. It's really cool, and I'm really glad I picked this one up. Staying on the Takehiko Inoue train, I picked up volume 37 of Vagabond. Now, I could have bought loads of volumes of Vagabond. I ended up finding them on the second to last day, my last shopping trip to a manga store, and this is the one that caught my fancy because this is the one that isn't part of the 12 volumes that I have behind me. Of course, it's not in English, but I thought it was something cool, something different that I can't get in English at the moment because of the price, and yeah, I'm really glad I picked it up. Next up is another series that you just can't get in English. That's Kingdom. I wanted to buy this because it's a well-renowned series. Loads of people have read it and it's really highly regarded, but you just can't get it in English. So it's kind of a memento to the things that we haven't yet had translated. And then I bought a Dojin because I had to. Next up, we've got one of my top series of all time, which is Vinland Saga. Now, this was another one where I could have got volume 1, but volume 1 had exactly the same design as my volume 1 in English, so why would I do that? So what I did instead is go through every single volume and find one that I really like the cover of, and this is the one I went for, volume 14. I believe this is also the volume that ends the farmland arc or slave arc, so it has a really big kind of momentous moment in it, and this was definitely the one that I needed to buy. I'm gonna have a video on Vinland Saga hopefully next month because that series is crazy. Next up, another one of my favorite series of all time, and I had to get this one because you know I absolutely love this cover, 20th Century Boys. In most of my videos you see this cover shown on my top left shelf. I can even see it right now, and this is just the Japanese version. It looks cooler than my version, and I had to pick this up. It was the cheapest manga I bought at 110 yen, which again is like 60p. What an absolute bargain for an absolutely awesome series, and probably my favorite manga cover of all time. Next up, I bought something that I just thought was absolutely awesome. This is Steel Ball Run Volume 1. I'm not the biggest fan of JoJo's, and I still need to do my reread read of it to kind of get back into the series. This is, as most of you know, a very, very, very well acclaimed part of JoJo's and a well acclaimed manga in general. So it was just kind of to own volume 1 of it in my collection. We've got 3 left, and the first one is volume 1 of Slam Dunk. When I went to Japan, I was very much on a Slam Dunk binge, and I had to pick this up because it's this really cool edition with an awesome cover, and it was the first manga I saw when we went to our first manga shop. I did pay full price for this, 600 yen, you know, about £4, so still very cheap. I like this. It's really, really cool, and I have a feeling this is a special re-released edition of it in Japan. Well, it must be because it has a thing for the movie on the back. Yeah, Slam Dunk Volume 1. And finally, we have 2 manga, and it's going to come as absolutely no surprise that they are both Berserk related. Of course, I had to pick up something Berserk, but the first thing I bought is actually a series by the creator of Berserk that isn't Berserk, which is this one. This is Duranki, and it's a volume that was produced by Kentaro Miura with the help of his team, Studio Gaga. Obviously, Kentaro Miura means so much to me. He's the creator of Berserk, so of course I wanted to buy this as soon as I saw it. It's one of the only things he's created that isn't in English. Hopefully it comes to English at some point, but for now I have the Japanese version. And finally, of course, is volume 1 of my favorite series, Berserk. I believe this is a re-release of Berserk because the cover itself is different to the ones I've seen before. It's Berserk, it's Kentaro Miura, and it's gonna look absolutely wonderful on the shelf. Berserk is my favorite series. I wish I could have bought more stuff in Japan related to it, but for now, I'm pretty happy with everything I have. And that, guys, is my Japan haul. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I want to ask you a question. Which of the things that I bought and showed you today do you think is your favorite? There's so much stuff that I bought, and I really don't know which is my favorite thing. Probably the Berserk figure, just because of the story behind it. I absolutely loved my holiday to Japan, and I absolutely loved going and shopping for all of this stuff and searching in all of the stores to see what I could find. It was an amazing experience, and I cannot wait to go back. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be alerted every single time that I upload. Let me know down below what your favorite item was today and what you think of some of the series that I picked up. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and if you're not sick of my face, you can check out one of the videos on the left or right of me, or if you've had quite enough, then I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.